So we're going to work on word problems, and we're going to really like you to try this when you're working on word problems is, of course, you're going to read your word problem carefully. When you read your word problem, try taking out your numbers. So instead of reading the number, you can say blank instead. So Jorge has blank baseball cards. So you can like cross it off with a pencil or a sticky note if you want or something like that. But really, you just have to say blank. Don't focus on the numbers. Sometimes we focus on those numbers and it messes us up. Instead of really focusing on the words within the word problem and what they're saying. So the word problems, remember, can give us clues on whether you're taking away numbers or putting the numbers together. So then you can really focus on what the words are saying and don't worry about the numbers at first until you realize what you have to do with those numbers. So Jorge has blank baseball cards and blank basketball cards. About how many more baseball cards than basketball cards does Jorge have? So how many more? So first of all, how many more? I know always. How many more? How much more? Always means to subtract. Always, okay? What you're doing there is you are how many more you are comparing. How many more? How many apples than oranges? How many baseball cards than basketball cards? You're comparing. So when you're comparing two numbers, you know that you're going to subtract every single time, okay, on those. So how many more? So then you can add those numbers back in. What numbers should we add? So we always know, or add or subtract. So we know that we subtract, first of all. We're going to put that down there. And then what numbers? The larger number, larger take away the smaller number. So we're going to go 708. And it says about how many? About, first of all, we have to think about means to estimate, okay? So about, they don't want the exact, okay? So when you're saying about or when you're saying estimate, first you have to round those numbers and then you can do your adding or your subtracting. So about and estimate. So here we have about how many more. So we do have to round those numbers before we can subtract them. 708, 708, we're going to round to the nearest hundred. The 0 tells the 7 to stay the same, and the rest to turn 0. 394, so 3, we're rounding to the hundreds place. The 9 tells the 3 to round up because it's from 5 to 9. And 5 to 9 says, okay, the 3 has to go to the 4, and then 9 and the 4 are going to turn to 0. So about how many? 700, take away 400. I can do that in my head because that is why we estimate, okay? We estimate so we can do larger numbers or even, smaller numbers mentally in our head. 700, take away 400 equals 300. We can do that really quick. So remember, round those numbers first, and then you can do your operation, which is subtraction. Okay, so let's try that again with another word problem. Taking away the numbers, trying to figure out really what those words say, and then we can figure out, then we can add those numbers back in. Let's take a look at this number 3. A store manager ordered 402 baseball caps. So we're going to go ahead and take those out and say blank. A store manager ordered blank baseball caps and blank ski caps. Estimate. Okay, so we have to estimate the total number of caps the manager ordered. Okay, so we're going to look at, so he ordered baseball caps and ski caps. Estimate the total number of caps. So they're totaling, when you're finding a total number or all together, that means we're adding them, we're putting them together. How many caps all together? So we know we're going to add, and then we can add those, put those numbers back. 402, and we're estimating, so we have to round those numbers, okay? We have to round those numbers before we add. So here we're going to add 402, round 4, the 0 tells the 4 to stay the same, and the rest of the numbers turn to 0. So our number 402 is closer to 400. 122, we're going to round to the nearest hundreds place. The 2 tells the 1 to stay at 1 because it's from 0 to 4, and that number always stays the same. If it's 5 or up, then we'd round this number up, but it's not. All right, then the 2 turns to 0 and the 2 turns to 0. We can do that easily in our head. 400 plus 100 equals 500, caps all together. So really focus if they're saying estimating or about, because then you have to round first. We'll do one more here for you. Let's take a look at this word problem. We're going to take out the numbers, focus on the words. Ruby has blank books. Blank of the books are on the shelves. Okay, she has a given amount of books. A certain amount of books are on the shelves. The rest are packed in boxes. Okay, so part of that 78 is on the shelf. Okay, here, if we draw a picture, part of them are on the shelf and part of them are down here in the boxes. How many of Ruby's books are still in the boxes? They want to know how many are in the boxes out of the total 78, the total amount of books. So we know that that means we know that those numbers aren't going to be put together, that those numbers are going to be separated. So we can add those numbers back in. Ruby has 78 books. 31 of the books are on the shelf. So part of them are on the shelves. 31 are here. Okay. We don't know how many are in the boxes, but we know that both of them equal 78. To break apart those, we know we can subtract, okay? We can subtract those two numbers because we know we're not going to add those two numbers. They want to know how many are here. If part of this number is here and then part of this number is here, we have to break it apart and we can subtract. So hopefully when you take out those numbers, you can really focus on the words and what it's asking you instead of focusing on those numbers. Then you can add those numbers back in. We know we're going to subtract, so the number sentence is going to look like this. 78, take away 31, and then you're going to find how many are left in the box. Now remember, I want you to show your work. If you have to borrow or you have to regroup, then I want you to do that on the side or somewhere where I can see it. Then you can figure out your problem. All right, so we covered a few strategies for word problem solving, and hopefully that helps you. Have a great day.